All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what time it is, and right here, right now, we actually have a phenomenal hip-hop legend, East Coast hip-hop legend at that. We got the one and only, the ever-so-talented Lost Soul right here, live on the line. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Oh, man, doing best I can possibly be, man. Just enjoying this amazing, surprisingly warm weather out here in Canada, man. We got summer weather today. I'm beginning to think, am I really in Canada or am I in California, man? Because that weather was phenomenal.
Nah, we had similar weather down here in New York. We had a cold snap, and then now we're in the middle of a warm snap. So it's like it's bouncing around.
I gotta say, man, we have the same weather as New York City. We're only about 4 hours away, man. So I hope for the both of us, this warm snap actually sticks around till about July, and then we can just continue on with summer.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not ready for the snow.
But I know you're a busy guy, Lost Soul, so I'm going to dive right into this interview, man. But I want to take you back to your high school days. Well, you actually began rhyming while attending New York's High School of Arts and Design. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about your humbling beginnings, and of course, who are some of your fellow famous alumni that you actually had the opportunity to rhyme with in those halls?
Um, wow. Art and design. Yeah, I went to art and design, graduated from there. It was a very you have to take a test to get into that school. A lot of graffiti legends went to that school. A lot of those 70s graffiti artists and subway bombers went to that school. A lot of early rhymers went to that school. People I personally went to school with was Kwame, the boy genius, who's produced for everybody, including his couple of albums that he put out in the late 80s, early 90s. Mobb Deep, before they got together, they were actually a group called Poetic Prophets. I know them, the whole background crew. Dr. Seuss, shout out to him. Pharoah Monch, he was a couple of years older than me. I think he was a senior. I was a freshman, if I remember correctly. But Pharoah Monch and Prince Pole, that's organized confusion. Them dudes are legends by themselves. Those guys, they've been killed it. So. It was a crazy time. The late 80s here in New York. It was like the birth of the golden era. And people tend to call me the golden era baby because I was like the last of everybody who was trying to do something with this. I originally started as a beatbox. So I wasn't even around until like 10th, 11th grade. Maybe, yeah, around there. And then after that, I started picking up the pen, and the rest was history.
And if you don't me asking, man, what actually led you to actually rhyming? Because obviously, beatboxing and rhyming, they're both in hip hop, but they're obviously totally different professions.
I just started writing down certain things that I was feeling. Growing up during that time, it was such a hard time here in this city. Crack was blowing up. People, who we knew, we never thought would get addicted to it, got addicted to it. We were just losing people. I just needed an outlet, and writing became my outlet. It's cheaper than therapy, to be honest with you. And, growing up back then, you didn't go to therapists. You didn't cry about safe spaces or anything like that. I'm an old school dude, so we just, I just started writing, and then just being surrounded by all these different rappers that I was beatboxing for, locally and here in Brooklyn and also in Manhattan where I went to school. And just being around all these different artists just influenced me. And then listening to different people like Kane, G-Rap, Master Ace, Public Enemy, all those dudes. It was just like, it was bound to happen. It was going to happen. It was just a matter of when.
And also, as well, your earliest teachers and mentors were actually members of the Black Watch movement. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind that, and of course, what was it like being mentored by so many legendary hip-hop artists at that time?
At first, I was intimidated. At first I was like, wow, this is really happening. The story of how I became involved with Black Watch was Paradise Gray, who was a member of the original X Clan and also a promoter at the Club, Latin Quarter, he lived not too far from me. And he always saw me in the neighborhood, and I always saw him. He nodded his head, I nodded my head. Here I am, this 15-year-old punk kid, looking up to this dude. And he actually discovered me beatboxing on the corner of Eastern Parkway here in Brooklyn. And he was like, "Yo, you got a second?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "Yo, I've had my eye on you for a while, and we're in the middle of doing something that's going to be different. And if you can stay out of trouble long enough, we want you to be a part of it." So at first I was like, "Oh shit, really?" I was young, I was a kid, So later on, he actually kept his word and came back for me. It was like 2 years later when I was beatboxing, and then we were talking. He's like, "Listen, you're at a point in your life where you got to make a choice. You gonna stay out on these streets, you gonna mess around, or you want to do something to try and change the world. How do you want to be remembered?" So I had to sit there and think about it. Now I'm 17 years old. I'm barely, going to school. I'm messing up, and I'm just like, man, I just want to do something with this gift, And he was just like, "Yo, check this out." And he put on this VHS tape, and he put on the first X-Clan video, and I was just blown away. I was like, "Yo, that's so different." And I've never, just the heat of the word, of the brother, that first X-Clan single that just changed everything, And I was just like, wow, I want to do something like that, So he was like, "We're going to groom you to be the Puerto Rican Chuck D." And I was like, okay. So he was like, "Yo, come down to the office, spend some time with the brothers, be involved with the movement." And then from there, I met everybody else, Brother J, Professor X, rest in peace, Sugar Shack, rest in peace, Link Q, Cream of the Raid, YZ, Just Ice. I got a funny story about him. He didn't even like me in the beginning. He thought I was a cop, which was funny, because I'm like, "Yo, I'm 18 years old, man. There's no cop here, And it was a rocky start between he and I, but eventually, we all clicked. I got to travel with them, went to shows with them. I was just learning everything I could, not just about the music, but also about the movement as well. So I was like a sponge between the ages of 17 and 20, just like trying to learn everything, and it was a special time, it was a real special time. It was hard, but it was special.
And if you don't mind me asking, man, because obviously, like you just mentioned, like Ice actually thought you were a cop and whatnot. What actually made you guys actually kind of become friends and whatnot? Like, what actually helped prove to him that you of course wasn't a cop?
We were by the court. It was him, three of the older guys in Black Watch, and myself, and we're in downtown Brooklyn. We're in a park by the courts, and they were joking around because I had finished rhyming before then. A lot of people in the movement didn't know that I rhymed or ever heard me rhyme. I kind of kept it to myself. Paradise knew, of course, but as I'm getting to know certain people, that's kind of like the last thing I tell them about me. And so we're in the courts one day, and one of the kids who didn't know was like, "Yo, Just, Soul will take you out in a battle." And he was like, "You don't want to battle me. You don't want to battle me. Fuck that cop-looking kid." And I was just like, here we go. So I don't remember the rhyme because it was 1991. So I don't remember exactly what I said, but what I said shocked the shit out of him that even he had a laugh. And he was like, all right, I'm going to stop breaking your balls. You good. He says, "Don't you ever rhyme against me like that again." He says, "Next time I'll kill you." And we all had a laugh about it,
I gotta say, it definitely sounds, man, like the like the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just wasn't one to be played with. You know, if you know anything about him, he's definitely not one to be played with. He's serious at all times. He's always, you know, out and about, you know. I haven't spoken to him in quite a few years, but, you know, I miss all those dudes. You know, I miss them all. Jay, Paradise, you know. But, you know, we're all grown. We're all older. We all have families. We're all doing what we got to do, you know. But, yeah, that was the thing with Just Dice and myself.
And also, as well, on September of 1995, you actually released your first single titled Microphone Dreams. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners the story behind this throwback, and of course, like, why wasn't that album actually ever released in the 90s?
Okay, Mike Dreams. Juice the Witch Doctor was my original producer. Once everybody went their own ways, when Black Watch originally first split up back in the, you know, like 92, 93, Juice the Witch Doctor and I put together a group of people called The Last Supper. And we were just doing our own thing. You know, I did solo material, I did group material, I worked with, you know, people we had in our camp, I did solo material, but it was like out of everyone that was in the camp, I was constantly in the studio, constantly. I think every clique or crew that I've ever been with, I've always been the one to be consistent and just working on stuff. So what wound up happening between 94 and 97, I had recorded X amount of songs, and, you know, I had this 8x10, you know, 8x10 black and white picture. I had a logo, I had a bio, the old school press kit, you know, the folder with the cassette tape and all that. But what we did that people said that we were crazy for, because again, I'm in my early 20s. I don't know the business like that, you know. So whatever I learned, I kept close to me, and we recorded enough material to put together an album. So in 1996, 97, that album was finished. It was unreleased. You know, we didn't have a record deal. So we're out here. Most people are shopping demos with 3, 4, 5 songs on it. We're out here shopping an entire album, intro, interlude, outro, songs, the whole nine. And someone put me on. There's a radio station out here in New York called Hot 97, and they were, at the time, they had a weekly show dedicated to unsigned artists called Home Jams. So someone told me, listen, you got enough material to, you know, if you got anything clean, send it to them. Maybe they'll play it on the air. Back then, there was no social media. There was no YouTube. There was no Instagram. There was none of that. It was word of mouth. If you were good, you were good. If you got heard on a bigger platform, like on a radio station, you were pretty much, you know, on your way. So we sent in several songs. We did it one at a time. So we Juice and I, just, you know, who produced every song on that particular album, we decided, okay, we're gonna start with this song. We sent it to Hot 97. We addressed it. We told them the clean version. Blah blah blah. This is what we recorded. Gave them all the information that they asked for and what they needed. And all of a sudden, I get a phone call from one of my sisters up in the Bronx, and she's like, "Where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "Why?" She says, "Dude, you're on the radio." I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yo, turn on the radio." So we get on the radio. I put the radio on and go tune into Hot 97, and there I am. And I was like, "Yo, this is crazy." And I'm just sitting there with a big cheese grin on my face. So then we sent them another song, and the second song that we sent them was Microphone Dreams. We recorded that back in 1995. And the song we sent them before that was recorded in 96. So all those songs from that unreleased album, which was called Tales of a Lost Soul, was 13 songs we started in 94 and we finished it in 96. And then 97, we were out there shopping for a deal, and that's when we first put it. That's when those 3 songs off of that album made it to radio. So we recently took the best songs from that album, stuff that we can get away with putting out now, and we just put it out there as an EP called Tales of a Lost Soul, the throwback EP. But every single one of those songs on that EP was recorded between 94 and 97, which My Dreams being the single that eventually we're going to shoot a video for, was, you know, every time, you know, we shot that song, we let people know, this song is 27 years old. I was a 22-year-old scared little, you know, I wasn't a kid, but I was, you know, I was pretty effing young. So that's how the story of Microphone, you know, the story of Microphone Dreams and that the whole throwback album came about. You know, Juice called me one day and said, "Hey, you still got those old tapes?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yo, can you convert them to MP3?" You know, and I'm like, "All right, cool." He says, "Yo, they got the best ones. We're gonna put them out." And I was like, "Okay." It's something original, something that not so many people have done. My biggest beef with hip hop today is the lack of originality. You know, it was like, you know, people were scared to be original. You know, it's not like back when I was coming up, you had EPMD rhyming about, you know, this, and you had NWA rhyming about that, and Coochie Rap rhyming about this, and you know, Eazy-E rhyming about that. It was like people were scared to be original today, you know? Everything's the same thing, you know, like wearing their sister jeans and drawing on their faces. And I was like, nah, you know, not feeling it.
And also as well, I do know you mentioned a few moments ago about how, you know, yourself and Juice were actually a member of the Last Supper, but I was wondering if we can just go back to that for a few moments. And actually just, I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that group. And of course, how did yourself and Juice actually get connected with the other members? Because that group is absolutely legendary within East Coast hip-hop history.
Well, the Last Supper, actually Juice started the group. You know, I just helped. You know, I was just, let's get to the studio kind of guy. I was the one who was like, you know, Juice had all the talent, you know, but I was the one who was like, okay, you know, we should do, you know, either an EP or just put out songs, and just every artist that was under our umbrella was just doing something. You know, we had like the Seven Divine, you know, God rest his soul. He's been gone for many years. He was absolutely insane on stage. He would come out with a straitjacket and literally dislocate his shoulder, pop it back into place, and then perform 3 or 4 songs. You know, and him, I miss him a lot. We've had some really deep conversations, and he was just a showman. You know, that was one guy who could put on a show, and you know, there was videos of him fighting dogs, and I mean, he had his issues, but damn it, man, he was like, if you needed him, he had you. You know, I mean, Seven Divine, you know, that's one dude who's really great. We had another member who passed away recently, Jay Recca. Again, he was another dude who was all over the place. Very solid. If he loved you, he loved you. If he hated you, he hated you. There was no in between with him. We got verses with him that at some point we want to put out, and you know, there were several others who came and gone, but the ones who stood out the most was the Seven Divine and Jay Recca. And yeah, I mean, it was those were some. There are several Last Supper songs floating around out there. I'm hoping at some point that we can do like a tribute EP or a memorial EP, especially for the ones who we lost. You know, featuring songs from those guys. I'm pretty sure, you know, at some point Juice and I will make it happen. You know, and yeah, those were some good years, man. But the Last Supper, man, that brought me to pretty much that part of my life, being with the Last Supper, pretty much brought me to where I'm at right now.
And also as well, in the late 1990s, you actually had 3 songs actually featured on Hot 97, and I know we spoke about that a few moments ago, But I have to ask, man, what was it like just actually being able to have your music played on a radio show that's actually hosted by Flava Flav, Public Enemy?
Yes, yeah, Big Dennis Rivera and Flavor Flav, they were the original host of Home Jams, of that, that radio show. And again, when you hear yourself on the radio for the first time, no one can tell you anything. That's something that no one can ever take away from you. Not no girl, not no parent, not no cousin, nobody. That's something that you bust your ass for that. And hearing yourself out there for the first time and then getting the feedback from the radio station like, yo, this is pretty dope. You got anything else? That's, back then this was, what, years before MySpace? This was 1997. This was 25 summers ago. And just the fact that I'm still doing it now, is crazy. So, but the 3 songs that we sent in, with Microphone Dreams being one of them, I know the other two I'm definitely going to, the other 2 are on the EP, so, but hearing Microphone Dreams for the first time, I missed half of it because I didn't know it was on. It was like, if I didn't get the phone call from the Bronx that, hey, stupid, you're on the radio, get off the phone, and, just to hear half my record, just to hear my voice on the radio, on the same radio station that everybody else who I listen to is on, that was special. That's a special feeling, man. It's like, even today, if someone asks me for a song, I send it to them, and then all of a sudden it gets played, and then it gets a good response, it gets a good reply, it gets X amount of hits. I'm still blown away by it. I'm like, wow, this is like, okay, this is the 15th time, but no, it's like, it's like getting with the hottest. It's like getting with the hottest girl on the, it's like getting with a hot girl. It's like you think she's out of your league until you get it, and then you snatch it, and then it's like, haha. But it was definitely hearing myself for the first time. It was such a crazy feeling. It was special, man. It was like, wow. Even now, with this EP, just putting it out there, and people like get the response that we're getting from this throwback EP. They're like, yo, you dudes are crazy, man. These songs are 20-something years old. It's never going to fly. It's not meant to fly for everybody. We're not targeting the 17-year-olds. If they feel it, they'll, by all means, God bless. Not everybody is anti old head, or anti OG. There's still a place for us in this thing, and it's just hearing yourself on the radio. I think I can't even count the amount of times, but my mind always goes back to the first time.
And also as well, man, after a several year hiatus, you actually returned to the music industry where you actually started working with producer Sir Capital. I was wondering what ultimately made you decide to leave the industry and of course come back many years later.
Yeah, I took a few years off. I needed to step off for a bit, clear my head, concentrate on getting the rest of my life together, job wise, health wise. I needed to straighten my shit out, and at the time I was living with someone, and I wanted to go back to music, and she wasn't exactly supportive of it, and so it was like it came down to a point where, all right, what are we doing? So I basically had to change my entire surrounding, and Sir K actually drove up to where I live with my ex, and first he came to my me and Sir K grew up in the same neighborhood. He came to my parents' house, and my father told him he lives in the Bronx. Here's his number, and then thanks to my pops, my father, out of all people, he he gave Sir K the number. Sir K got in touch with me. He came up to the Bronx, and he was like, "Yo, do you remember when I told you, if I ever started my own shit, I was gonna come back for you?" And I was just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yo, but we were high school. We were in kids. Why? What's up?" He was like, he started showing me pictures of a studio he set out in Queens, and I was just like, "Stop playing." And he was like, "Yo, man, I got beats for you. You're dead serious. And I know you haven't done nothing in a few years." And I was just like, "All right, why not? What's the worst that can happen?" So he and I started working together. We started started recording different things, and the relationship I was in wasn't working anymore. It was time to go. So moved back to Brooklyn, came home, and I told Sir K, and I'm like, "Listen, let's do this. Let's do this for real." And this was around the time that MySpace was jumping. So then he and I put some stuff together on MySpace, and then we started getting attention, and then the X-Clan reunion, anniversary parties. We're going to, like, all of a sudden I'm going to all these events with him. And we made the best of it. It was an opportunity. It was again, not too many people keep their word in this business. So when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm going to come back for you," and they actually do it, Sir K, as we call him, actually did the same thing that Paradise did back when I was 17. They actually came back for me, and we still make music together. To this day, we still make music together. He's done production on all 5 of my albums. And, that's a dude I've known since high school. And he and I, we go back, and he's only a year younger than me. I love the dude like a brother. He's got a nice little click out where he's at right now. He always knows that I'm a call away. And, if I call him right now and says, "Yo, I need 2 or 3 beats, I'm looking to do something new," he'll do it. He would do it. So if you're listening, Sir Capital, throw me a couple of beats, because Papa Bear need to get back in the studio. There you go.
And also as well, man, on April 25th of 2021, you actually released the amazing 11-track album titled The Long Night. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about this album, and where can we buy or stream ourselves a copy of it today?
The Long Night. The story of The Long Night. I actually call it, that's actually my pandemic piece. And the reason I call it my pandemic piece, because at the beginning of the pandemic, we were losing people left and right. And I didn't know what was going to happen. There was no place to go to record. Everything was shut down. New York was like shut down. There was no people outside. Very few people on the train. If you were quote unquote essential, that was the only time you can, get out there, travel, go to work or whatever. What made that album, The Long Night, special was that every song on that album was done by a different producer from either my past or my present. So The Long Night, wow, this is crazy. I didn't think I was going to finish that album. I didn't think I was going to finish it because I'm over here thinking, all right, I have what they call pre-existing conditions and the COVID and this and that. So what wound up happening, I went around to each person that I used to work with or worked with previously, whether it be Sir Capital, Juice the Witch Doctor, Thanos and RY from Brotherhood, who I have a very long extended history with. Shout out to Thanos and RY. Each one of them came through for me, and they said, okay, and I explained, I told them, I'm like, listen, no producer's going to appear more than once. There's going to be X amount of songs, X amount of producers, something that hasn't been done in God knows how long. And everybody was with it. Everybody was cool. Everybody was like, all right. That sounds good. Again, going back to striving to be original, and that album can it's out on it's on Apple Music, it's on Pandora, it's on Amazon Music. Where else? It's on Spotify. I have my own personal website that I sell it on. It's also on Bandcamp. And again, that was my 5th album, and it's also a special album because again, it's like everybody came out for it. There was no, I'm busy. I'm working on another project right now. Nah, it was all I needed was one track from you. That was it. If it was solid, I used it. If it wasn't solid, give me something else. I already have something slower, faster, whatever the case was. But I released it on April 25th, 2021, which was also my 49th birthday. That was a little kick, a little perk for myself. A little birthday present from me to me. I'm like, all right, I'm putting this record out on my birthday. It's a great album. LostSoul316.bandcamp.com. It's still there. All my albums are on that site. My artist website is www.therhymething.com. It has everything. It has the EPK for Mike Dreams. It has all 5 albums, 2 EPs, all my videos. I have 10 videos. And even merch, like stickers that you can put on the subway train if you want to, have the NTA come after me. Screw them. T-shirts, hoodies, even stuffed animals with a little Lost Soul thing on it. Because my kids call me Bear, Papa Bear. So I actually got little stuffed bears with the Lost Soul T-shirt on.
And also, I have to ask, man, what is next for yourself, Lost Soul? Is there anything we happen to miss during tonight's interview? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the Canadian FM dial this evening.
Let's see. What's next? There's something that I've been meaning to do. And every time I try to walk away from this thing, I get pulled back into it. Does that mean that there's more music coming? Yeah, there is. There is. I mean, people have been sending me beats, and and there's one thing that I'm known for. As long as people feed me beats, I always have a rhyme in me. That's if it hits my soul that hard, I'm gonna write to it. Again, I mean, the next joint that Juice and I gonna do, along with several other producers, is gonna be called "Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn." That's what's next. So eventually, sometime in 2023, we'll put a couple joints together, slap a cover on it, and drop that. So "Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn" is next. What else? What else did we cover? Oh yeah. Shout out to Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box. He was the first person to play my my videos back in the days. Back when I had the first album, along with when I was a part of the Brotherhood camp, and he actually was famous for having the longest running hip hop video show. I mean, this was a guy who drew the blueprint for MTV, BET, and all these other video shows. He was doing it before them. Anybody here in New York from that era, even now, owes that man a debt of gratitude. So while I'm on the air, this is me giving Uncle Ralph his flowers. Thank you for playing my first video. Thank you for playing my second and third video. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything. I've known him I've known him like I've known Paradise and everybody else who built, who helped build me up from that time as a 16-year-old kid, not knowing what the hell he's going to do next, you know. And yeah, definitely, you know, you gotta give the shout outs where they're due. You gotta give the props where they're due. You know, again, you know, shout out to Big Murph, you know, for all the times that, you know, for being the first person to play me on internet radio. Shout out to Franchise, New Girl, Sugar Water Radio, who've always showed me love since the very beginning. Shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I got to send you stuff, so you already know. You got to send me an email address, my man. I got stuff to send you. And like I said, anybody who's ever been a part of this, from the word go, you know, love and appreciation, man. Like, it's crazy. It's like, I started out as a child, but now, you know, I'm approaching those golden years, and I'm still a part of this. I'm still doing this. You know, it's not even about record sales at this point. It's just, you know, writing is therapeutic. Sharing it is just, you know, something that we should do as artists. You know, doesn't matter how old you are. You know, you got all these rock guys still touring and still performing and still making albums. It shouldn't be any different for hip hop. It should. Feel me?
I definitely feel you, man. I really do. And most definitely, I'll be sure to send you my email the moment we actually hop off the air. But before we actually do part ways, man, if you can, drop them social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything Lost Soul.
All right, yo, Instagram, Lost Soul 316, or The Rhyme Fiend. And then you have Twitter, Lost Soul 316, Facebook, Lost Soul 425, and my personal website, therhymefiend.com. You know, so it's like you can check me out on my website, you can check me out on social media. My YouTube is Lost Soul of BH603. All my videos are up on there. We actually getting ready to shoot something for Microphone Dreams next month. You know, Juice the Witch Doctor is coming up to New York, and we're gonna find ourselves in spots and just knock that out, because that song is 27 years in the making, and it deserves its rightful place next to everything else that we've done.
But I gotta say, first and foremost, Lost, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening and sliding into the 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM dial, man. It definitely was an honor and most definitely a privilege, man. I gotta say, definitely have yourself a phenomenal Sunday night, and I'm pretty sure we definitely shall talk again sometime soon.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for nominating me for your award. I peeped that. I shared that. I was like, humbled. Humbled is not even, can't even begin to describe, you know, what that nomination means. I've never saw myself as an icon. I've had people pull me on the street talking about how I influenced their kids and you know, and you know, just all that type of stuff. You know, it's just you know, still mind blowing that, you know, somebody like me could actually, you know, have an effect on people, you know, just me and my words. But I'm glad at the same time, you know, it's an honor.
Hey, man, you are most certainly welcome, man. I love giving credit where credit's due, man. And honestly, everything you did for hip-hop, you definitely are an icon, man. So nobody else deserves that nomination more than you do, man. So I'm glad I can actually provide these opportunities to the legends like yourself.
Thank you, man. For real, it means a lot.
Hey, man, you are most certainly welcome, Lost Soul. Definitely have yourself a phenomenal night, man.
You too, brother.